I did this video and then found out that she had delayed the order, but we're posting anyways. It's very good body language. So we thought we had some kind of, oh wow, it's not all lost for our republic. Colorado's Secretary of State came through and said, nah, unless, SCOTUS comes up and says he's got to get booted. We ain't booting him. Do you want to know why that is? It is because you're innocent until proven guilty. But the Secretary of State of Maine, a very beautiful state, has decided that she's going to take him off the ballot. And of course, I know my fellow Mainers out there know how to write Donald J. Trump. For the rest of the country, we're pretty used to that. At least for the spots that would have voted for him anyway in the state. But no one should be allowed to decide who's going to be on the ballot or not, especially for crimes they have not been convicted for. So, looking at this woman, my first thought is, does she actually believe this? Are we seeing another thing like we saw in Georgia when that show started? You could tell at some point she no longer wanted to do this. She knew she was not on the right side. There was so much stress there. And I'm kind of curious if we're going to see it with this one. Is this marching orders, or is she just hell-bent on just circumventing pretty much an American citizen's right?
The Secretary wrote, I conclude that the record establishes that Mr. Trump, over the course of several months and culminating on January 6th, 2021, used a false narrative of election fraud to inflame his supporters and direct them to the Capitol to prevent certification of the 2020 election and the peaceful transfer of power. I likewise conclude that Mr. Trump was aware of the likelihood for violence and at least initially supported its use, given he both encouraged it with the—
I like how she says, I conclude in all these things. I conclude. It's like, what happened to a judge and jury? I mean, that's called literally dictatorship.
Incendiary rhetoric, and took no timely action to stop it. Joining us now, Maine Secretary of State Shenna Bellows. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, Madam Secretary. Really appreciate it.
Actually, we're seeing quite a lot of stress, but the lack of movement, the lack of smiling, just denotes a whole lot of stress.
We just heard Yale historian Professor Blight saying that you got the 14th Amendment exactly right.
So we see the nodding. He goes into Professor Blight. So that nodding comes with his name. And I would gander that she's probably interacted with this person for this particular scenario.
And he is the highest authority on the 14th Amendment as a historian that I'm aware of.
So she gives a slight smile on the one side for the whole idea of him being the highest authority on the 14th Amendment. And that is it. And you see the head nod that goes with it.
And so he says you got the 14th Amendment exactly right.
There we go. We've got it. You got the 14th Amendment exactly right. Nothing. We got crickets. No positive head shake in this movement. No nothing. It would appear now that we have someone who is following orders.
As you approached this, how did you do your fact finding that you could then apply to the law?
Thank you so much for having me this evening.
She's doing some weird eye movements. It's nothing. It's like something has distracted her, or she's trying to look in a certain way. I'm not quite sure, but it is nothing. She's still stressed.
And I think for your viewers tonight, it's really important to understand Maine and the fact that different states, as a general matter, states have inherent authority over the ballot, and states manage their own elections differently. Different states have different laws regarding ballot access. In Maine, if a candidate is qualified for the ballot, any registered Maine voter may bring a challenge. And then as secretary, I must, in fact, hold an administrative hearing. I'm a hearing officer, not an advocate, to hear both the perspective of the candidate and the challenger. They present evidence, they present witnesses, there's ability to cross-examine the witnesses and contest the evidence. And then my decision is based solely on the record of the hearing, on the exhibits and the witness and testimony presented. So that is how I must make my determination. Maine law requires that I make a determination about access to the ballot and issue that determination within 5 days of the conclusion of the proceeding. So I was duty bound to follow Maine law to.
So here we have someone at this moment not reading a script. She's literally trying to access something to give excuse to what she was doing. I had to do this. It was brought to me. I looked at the evidence. And just by her verbals, you can tell with the excuses lining up that she's already trying to divert blame somewhere else. It's the way the law is set up. I was just doing, what I was supposed to do.
Ensure that all the candidates who appear on the primary ballot are qualified for the office they seek.
I see you relying on the proof that Donald Trump engaged in insurrection is that he took no timely action to stop it. And that is an actual fact of the history that we know. That fact has been established by the January 6th committee and by other investigations.
This is actually really good. I actually now feel kind of sorry for her. Yes, I know we got the pictures of her with some, shady characters, but she's not agreeing with him. There's no positive head movement. There's no relaxed facial expression to, oh, thank you for helping me out. There's nothing.
Of that day, and Donald Trump has never once suggested that he did anything at all during the time when he is accused of doing nothing to stop the insurrection.
We can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
That seems to me to be a key element of the evidence you had to consider.
My decision is 36 pages. I encourage people to read it on the Maine Secretary of State website. The weight of the evidence, all of the evidence, made clear.
You see her face where her lips are drawn back tightly as she's trying to speak, but at the same time, the corners are kind of down. It's a stress smile as she speaks. I'm actually surprised we're not seeing it more in the forehead. What I like to do, by the way, when you're doing body language and you're seeing something that does not fit completely, just do it. Put her expression on your face. You'll see what's engaged and what's stressing and where it's going. So when you feel and you do that, you realize that, the angle of the head is going down. The mouth is where it's at. She wants to get away. She wants to get away. And the verbals go with that. I want to get away. Go read it. Just go read what I wrote. That's the argument. I don't want to do this. Go read what I wrote.
That Mr. Trump was aware of the tinder laid by a multi-month effort to delegitimize a Democratic election, the election of 2020, and then chose to light a match on January 6th.
It looks like she's looking down at something as like bullet points. And again, for those who've not watched me before, some people write verbatim what they're going to say. Some people write simple words that say, this is what I want to put into whatever I'm going to say. Let's say you're defending yourself against a murder. So you have down there the names of the victims and the weapon, and then that's it. And then you got some people that have bullet points. She's not reading verbatim. It looks like maybe she's got names, a list, bullet points, but it's not verbatim.
And then did nothing for a time. The evidence presented demonstrated, and remember, the events of January 6, 2021, and this was borne out by the evidence, were unprecedented and tragic. They were an attack not only upon the Capitol and on the government officials there, members of Congress, former vice president, but also an attack on the rule of law. And the evidence demonstrated that they occurred at the behest of and with the knowledge and support of the outgoing president.
Maine Secretary of State Shenna Bellows, who made history today, thank you very much for joining our discussion tonight.
Thank you.
So right as that ends, thank you very much. Oh, she finally moves her body and relaxes. Oh, she knows she stepped in it. She knows. We'll see how long this stays up.
If you like it, please share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
If you'd like to learn more about analysing body language, there is a video course available on Mandy's website for gold subscribers.